Hi,
สวัส
everyone.
ดีค่ะ I thought you were here.
Good morning,
สวัสดี
Tanajan.
ค่ะท่านอาจารย์ Hi
Good morning,
everyone.
Leanne. Good to see you here. Yes. I may just start with a point of Robert Sajan, which we've been discussing. I hope I can put it clearly. I had mentioned about, when I was writing to someone about one visible object impinging on eye sense for seeing to see. And I'd mentioned it's just one visible object that arises in one kalapa with other rupas, but just the visible object in that kalapa impinges on the eye sense. And he wonders why it is just in one kalapa. Why not a mass of kalapas? Why not visible object in countless kalapas that impinges on eye sense? And he gave a quote about the pigs eating dung and the chaku vijnana seeing the visible object, and it seems to him that it should be a mass of the color in a mass of kalapas at that moment of seeing what is taken for dung. Do you have any comments for him, please?
Okay. In a moment, just one single moment, is there one Chakupasatha and one Rupa?
Yes.
So we just talk about only one split seconds of
Yes.
split second reality.
Yes. And that one single rupa that is seen in that split second has to have arisen in one single kalapa, because each
Just
visible
one
object,
kalapa.
one kalapa, because each visible object in each kalapa is different, but only one visible object in one kalapa can impinge on the eye sense. I think his question is, if it is just one, as I wrote, how is it possible when it's just such a tiny visible object in one kalapa to be the condition for forming the idea of color and shape form so quickly?
How many colors are there now appearing?
Countless.
Many, not just
many,
one color.
No, many, many, many.
Yeah, and can this color be the other color?
No.
That's why just one color at a time.
And one color in one kalapa cannot be the same as another color in another kalapa, and one color seen now cannot be the same as the next one. So when we talk about, we read in a simile, like in a quote in the text about the pigs seeing the dung. I mean, dung is just an idea, but actually there are countless moments of seeing countless colors before there is any idea of color of dung or any other idea of shape and form.
That's why we live in the world of atta from years and years and years up to now.
Yes.
Who can understand the difference between moment of seeing and hearing right now?
And even when we have the idea of seeing color, it's utter instantly. We think of the purple or the mauve or the yellow. It's something already. It's not actually the understanding of just visible object or color that is seen now. So utter comes in very quickly.
Otherwise, how can anyone understand the virtues of the Buddha? How long had he developed right understanding and all kinds of parami? More than years and years until he enlightened the truth. See, if it is not just as it is, so very, very easy, just take it for our own thought about what it should be like this or that. But what about right now? Is there any moment of bhavanka in between the process of seeing and hearing? Each moment, each processes. So what appears does not appear as it is at all, but it appears by nimitta as anatta of everything. The nimitta of seeing, the nimitta of rupa, the nimitta of sound, and so on, because just one single moment cannot be realized at all.
Right. The other point he asked me for when I mentioned about how it's just one single visible object that impinges and that one single object arises in one kalapa, he asked for a textual quote where it says in the Tipitaka or in the commentaries where it says it's just the visible object in one kalapa only, not the visible object in many kalapas that impinges on eye sense.
What is nimitta?
Nimitta is the sign of the visible object that has been arisen. So many visible objects that have seen at different moments.
And
So
other moments, like Sampatichana, Santirana, and so on, Panchatvarana, and so on. So we live just in the world of nimitta, of seeing,
yes,
hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking.
yes, I think so.
Yeah, and who can imagine the great wisdom of the Buddha?
Yes.
And his wisdom is out of his enlightenment. What does it mean? It's not just hearing, considering, thinking by one's own way, but understand how deep this moment, how subtle it is, which cannot be known without any understanding. Ariya Satya, 3 rounds at all. Not just only one round about the 4 Ariya Satya. Each is so very subtle. And the path is the moment of understanding what is there, appearing now. Otherwise, how can there be panya? Strong enough, keen enough, sharp enough to understand each different nimitta.
And the other point is that, as I mentioned, he asked me to give a quote where it says it's a visible object just arising in one kalapa that impinges. But when we understand it's only one visible object that impinges, one visible object can only arise in one kalapa because only one can impinge. If it's a visible object or the color from many kalapas, then it would be many colors, but only one can impinge, no matter what we call it. One rupa can impinge. So not necessary for the text to say it's only in one kalapa, because one visible object can only arise in one kalapa. So,
as Buddha thought about the one kalapa, did he have to say that only one visible object impinges on the eye base?
that's exactly what I said. Yes, not necessary to repeat it, because if one says one visible object arises in one kalapa and one visible object impinges on eye sense, then it means it's just the visible object from only one kalapa that can impinge. I think sometimes we, as you say, can't imagine how extraordinary the Buddha's understanding is, and doubts come in because people think about how tiny, like a speck of dust, the visible object is. So how can it impinge, and how can there be this idea of different colors and people, and how can there be understanding of visible object? But the amazing thing is it's possible and it's true. And at a moment of understanding of visible object or color or rupa, whatever one wants to call it, no question, no doubt, it is possible. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been taught. And so at that moment, one doesn't have to think about an infinitesimal amount of kalapas or anything else, because it's just the reality, the visible object right now that can be understood, just that which is seen. So it's very amazing, the Buddha's teaching. And another topic he asked me to bring up is on, let me just check it, the tirasanya, the firm remembrance. As we know, the firm remembrance of what is true and right is the proximate condition for sati, for the sati to develop, satipatthana to develop. If there's not firm remembrance of the truth about realities now, then no conditions for sati to develop. He would like you to speak more about tirasanya.
What Sanya remembers now?
Most of the time it remembers the names of people around and the weather and this and that. But when we're discussing about the truth, Sanya can remember what is seen right now, what is heard, just sound, just visible object that's seen.
So what does Sanya remembers now? Each moment it's there.
Yes,
No matter
different.
what,
It remembers anything, any reality, any concept, different at each moment.
So is there satipatthana now?
Not unless there is direct understanding at this moment of what is seen or what is heard.
Why not?
Because the Sanya, that conditions.
Not enough Sanya
sati.
to condition moment of satipatthana.
Right.
Because all day just thinking about something, not the truth of what is there. To be known, to be firm, to be confident enough to condition it. Right now, what is there is the proof how much sanya of that which is there, not sanya of the truth. Daily life is a proof.
Right. And I think not enough sanya and not enough confidence of remembering what is true to condition that, the satipatthana right now. So the sanya has to be very firm, and that is the tirasanya. And it can only be firm when understanding develops.
What about sanya of the Bodhisattva years and years before he became enlightened? Parami, see, without understanding the sanctity of Dhamma right now, it's impossible to understand the Buddha's great wisdom. Each word comes from his enlightenment, out of his great wisdom. Each word can be proved. For example, right now, there is seeing. Just a moment. Where about, or what about, citta before, Panchatavara Vachana, Sampatichana, Santirana, see. That's why we can prove whether what Buddha said is true, no matter when and where. Right now, there is seeing. Does it arise in false way or none at all? Who knows? Is it true?
It's true, and the sanya of what's true has to accumulate, like in the case of the Bodhisattva, aeons and aeons, to accumulate, to be so firm, to condition the development of satipatthana ready to condition the Vipassana jnanas and enlightenment in his last life.
So what is sanya now? It doesn't condition satipatthana because not enough sanya, not thira enough.
Not tirasanya, not firm enough.
So what does firm mean in this context? So what does firm mean in this context, I wonder?
This moment. This moment.
Right.
Is it firm when it's not the moment of satipatthana?
I didn't hear it. Sorry, Ajahn, could you repeat, please?
This moment is a proof whether sanya is firm enough to condition satipatthana of what is there right now.
Yes, but I'm just wondering in what sense the sanya is firm.
When you think about what is there, it's firm sanya which keep on that object to be thought about. See, any moment is so firm about ignorance, attachment, and every moment akusala in life. And what about just a moment of kusala in life today? Is it sanya, which not forget about moment of discussion, moment of carefully considering about what is there now, or asanya, but sanya doesn't show up at all in a day. It works, it arises, it performs its function, but no one knows that it is sanya, not I or anyone who now remember what is there, now appearing as it is. Nimitta only. Is this firm? We just live in the world of nimitta, of atta. Is it firm now?
It's still not really clear to me why the word firm is used for the sanya that
Can be
conditions satipatthana, or is
okay.
approximate cause.
Okay, what's the parami?
Sorry, Ajahn?
What is the meaning of parami?
Parami means the perfection.
What does it mean? Perfection.
Well, it means the highest of its kind.
Before it can be that stage, it's the perfect understanding of what is there heard right now about the truth of this moment.
Before that, it's not yet perfect.
That's right, it doesn't condition sanya. But there are many degrees or levels of perfect, right? To be perfect in hearing, considering, understanding, the first round. Is it perfect yet?
Perfection implies the highest level of its
How come?
kind.
How come? How come to be high level?
Well, it has to be developed from a low level.
Now, right?
Yes, yes.
From moment to moment, from time to time, from life to life.
Actually, I read in one of the commentaries that when talking about the paramis, it's actually what is meant is leading to the perfections, because we cannot say that the understanding now is the highest, but it is leading to the perfection of the paramis. So there are the different levels, the 3 rounds, as you were mentioning. So these are all leading to enlightenment, leading to the highest levels. But we use perfections in brief, but actually it means those qualities that lead to the perfections, to the greatest ones. And the firm sanya, I think it just means, in the sense of firm, it means the one that develops with understanding, that is firm in remembering what is true, what is right. Because without that firm remembrance of what is true and right, sati cannot develop to the degree of directly being aware of realities at moments of satipatthana.
And develops mean now too.
It has to be now too. So it
it's the proof.
It develops on and on. So the right sanya, the anatta sanya, has to develop on and on until it becomes tira sanya, conditioning satipatthana.
Well, I'm just wondering whether in this particular context, sanya, does it refer to memory as we understand it of marking the object, or does it refer to perception, which is, it seems to have 2 different meanings. Sometimes it's used to mean marking the object, and other times it's used to mean perception generally. So in this context of as being proximate cause for satipatthana, are we thinking of sanya as meaning having the function of marking the object, or as perception?
Is sanya real?
Yes.
Is it a reality?
Yes.
Does it have its own characteristic?
It must.
Okay. Where is it? When is it? Just now. But we don't talk about it so much. That's why we forget about its characteristic, its truth, its function, and so on. But it arises with each citta. See?
Right. But
So
I'm just wondering about well, sometimes it seems to have the meaning of perception
we don't think
rather
about
than.
we don't think about the word, just talk about the reality. There is a reality every moment, remembers or marks the object which is experienced. Otherwise, nothing can be known at all. It marks each moment experiencing one dot of visible object. It's there. So when it appears as something, sanya marks and remembers it, as I'm seeing Kun Jonathan right now. Sanya.
Yes. Yes.
How can it be? That's moment.
I do appreciate that, Ajahn, but I don't see how, when we think of sanya as that which marks and remembers a dot, how that can be proximate cause for satipatthana. So I'm thinking that.
Not yet at all, not proximate cause, because it's not firm enough. At moment of what you say, I think is the no sanya. At
Of
moment.
course.
So it's sanya, it's not you or anyone at all. And sanya marks that which is seen as someone and something, but hearing about the nature of reality as yourself, it's the moment for sanya to begin to remember and mark what is heard as a truth. For example, no thought about seeing that is real is conditioned to arise in false way. Sanya marks each word.
Yes.
Otherwise, there cannot be any remembering of what is said at all.
Right.
But Sanya marks with kusala or akusala in daily life. No understanding of the truth of seeing right now. If there's no hearing, how can Sanya mark and remember the nature of seeing? It's impossible. It's Panya which is there. And Sanya marks that which Panya experience it. There must be right understanding. So Sanya which arises with that moment marks and remember the truth of what is there. Any moment of hearing, considering about the truth or about anything, it's there all the time. Each moment conditioned arise together with Chitta. Is there Sanya now?
There must be.
See, if not, seeing falls away. But Sanya arises with seeing marks already of that object. So it depends on each moment what is there. And Sanya marks, it performs its function to remember what is it. That's why there are many words about Sanya in Tipitaka. Neva Sanya, Na Sanya Yatana. No matter when at all, it's there. Arising with that Chitta, which is there arising. Otherwise, how can there be things around, something around at moment of seeing, if Sanya does not mark, shape, and form? So Sanya Vipallasa, see, when there's no right understanding, it's Vipallasa. It cannot mark and remembers the nature of that which is now appearing.
Whenever any akusala arises, so most of the day, Sanya Vipallasa. And does anyone else have anything they would like to comment on with regard to these topics or any other aspect?
Sorry.
Sorry. I think also when we talk about Sanya being at a deeper level, say, of perception, that seems to me that could only be in the mind door rather than in the sense door. And so the Sanya in the sense door is the mere marking, whereas the Sanya perhaps in the mind door would be a deeper level perception with more characteristics, but perhaps more more rounded information about the object, increased information about the object.
Certainly, when we're talking about the marking, the remembering of what is true now, then we're talking about the mind or activity.
Right. Oh, I see. If you're talking about
yeah.
what it's true, then it has to be the mind.
I agree. Go ahead, Han. And I think Alberto wanted to bring up something afterwards. Go ahead.
Yes, sorry, I like to ask about the Sanya, following the Sanya. So Chan just mentioned about the Vipallasa Sanya, and the other term is the Atta Sanya and Anatta Sanya. Please elaborate more about it. Thank you.
In brief, and I'm sure Ajahn will elaborate, but at any moment when akusala arises of any kind, it is a perversion of sanya. It is sanya vipalasa, no matter whether it's at moments of lobha or dosa, no matter whether there is wrong view or not wrong view, it is sanya vipalasa. Ajahn was referring particularly to when there's no understanding, it's sanya vipalasa, but any moments of akusala, sanya vipalasa is there, even when it seems conventionally it's right remembrance. When I remember it's your name, Hang, and I don't mix it up with another name. So conventionally we would say this is right memory. But unless there is kusala at that moment, unless there is kindness or generosity or understanding, sanya vipalasa at that moment. But when we're talking about atasanya, it is when it's the remembrance of something, like we were talking about how visible object is seen, but very quickly, like when talking about the dung or the color, something atasanya instantly, because it's not the understanding that it's just visible object that's seen at that moment, it's something there. So that's atasanya, which is the opposite of anatasanya, when there is the remembrance that it's just Dhamma that is seen now, not anything, not a person or a picture or a particular color, not something that is anatasanya, which can only develop with right understanding of the truth. And it is the anatasanya which develops with understanding that becomes the tirasanya, the firm remembrance of what is true and right, conditioning, direct awareness and understanding. But perhaps Ajahn would like to add more to your point.
Thank you, sir.
Do you see Kunsara?
Yes, Ajahn.
Yes. What is Kunsara? Different colors, so what?
Yeah, a lot of things that it show that is kunsara.
Why do you think you see Kunsara?
Because of sanya.
See, beginning to understand the characteristic of a reality, which is different ones all the time. Even sanya cannot be the same when it is kusala, it is not a kusala. When it begins to understand, sanya is there. That's why sanya arises with each moment. So now, do you see Kunsara?
Yes,
Say, what condition? Yes. Is that not sanya, which must and remember different colors as this, it's the form, the shape as someone. But in truth, you cannot see Kunsara at all.
yeah,
Right? Wrong.
yes,
Sanya vipalasa. Seeing is not sanya. Vitaka is not sanya. Each reality is so very subtle. That's why before the third round of the Ariya Satya, there must be understanding enough, little by little, letting go, wrong understanding, and firm confidence, or just what we talked about a moment ago.
yeah.
How
Can I
did
contact you? You just mentioned about the neva sanya. What is it?
they mention what?
Neva sanya.
On
I could not catch it.
Neva Sanya Na Sanya Yatana, plane of existence.
Oh,
See, Sanya follows. It depends on whether we are talking about Sanya or not. Now, no need to talk about Sanya. But at that stage, the quality of Sanya is quite different because of the Panya. which is enough to let go, clinging to what is there as this or that. But even so, sanya is still there.
Yes.
I'm just getting back to Atasanya and Anatasanya for a moment. Sorry to interrupt, Han. If I were to say, do you know which of those people on the screen is Azita and which is Sarah? So who is who of the various people? Does that, this is my question for Ajahn, does that imply Atasanya necessarily? Or, I mean, the enlightened being also, of course, knows who is who in terms of all the pictures on the screen. So some aspect of identifying different individuals is common to the enlightened being and the unenlightened being. So what is the factor that means that wrong view is present?
Okay, please consider what is seen.
What is seen? Visible object.
Say, is it Kunsara?
Visible object is not Kunsara.
Is there any sanya marks and remembers until it begins to form as shape and form as something different from this to that? Is it not because of sanya?
It's because of yes, it's because of sanya in the mind or process that follows the sensed or experience.
So we live in the world of nimitta, the world of atta, the world of atta.
What is the world of atta though? Does that does that mean wrong view, or does that mean having an idea of
when
things?
It's atta, has to be wrong with atta no ditti.
Right. So the characteristic of wrong view is not sanya. Different.
But there must be sanya arising together at moment of wrong view.
Yes,
wrong
but the enlightened being also, without wrong view, recognizes different individuals as individuals and different from table and chair. So where is the actual difference? What is the factor that makes wrong view rather than just, say, perception without wrong view?
Can we say the main one? Ignorance. Avijja, for sure.
Lack of understanding.
Right. Now.
But does wrong view have a characteristic other than I or people, a person and a thing?
Okay. Is that Jonathan now?
Is there? Well, it depends in what sense you're asking the question. we know there are just namas and rupas in reality, in the ultimate sense. In the conventional sense, there is a table and a chair, and Jonathan.
All is all. Right? No, it's
I didn't quite catch. Could you repeat it, John?
All are dhammas.
All are dhammas, yes.
All realities are dhamma. See?
Yes, yes.
If there's no firm confidence, it's atta. Not anatta. Not dhamma. I. A tree. Not dhamma.
But the enlightened being still has the idea of I and a tree.
after, before, or at moment of enlightenment?
After.
So, after enlightenment, no doubt about this moment as something permanent at all.
Right.
Ariya Satya. So each word should be firmly ground or foundation to understand the truth that nothing can, no matter it's so strange or so queer or so splendid or adamas. Otherwise, it's not the teaching of the truth of that very moment. What is so beautiful, it's seen.
And before enlightenment, of course, the being who is developing understanding still is still before enlightenment. The being who is to become enlightened is seeing the world as a worldling, but obviously wrong view wouldn't be arising that much for that being.
That's why we have to talk pretty careful about before enlightenment. Before enlightenment, there must be understanding of the Ariya Satya 3 rounds.
Yes.
Each word should conform with its truth. Dhamma, no one at all. Anatta, and all Dhammas are anatta. So if there's no beginning of understanding firmer about now, what is there is real, it's real. Nobody can change its characteristic. So it's a Dhamma. Sound is real. Nobody can change its characteristic. Nobody can make it arise. Begin to be familiar with the truth from hearing, considering each moment as a ground, very firm to let go the idea of atta, because we have lived in the world of atta uncountable years. So now just listen carefully. It's still I, the 5 khandhas, at moment of learning, not understanding Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara enough, or Chitta, see? That's why we understand how great wisdom is there, because each word is not just think about it. After this, there can be this, there must be that at all. But now, what is there does not appear as it is at all. That's why Buddha taught about the truth of what is there to be known. It's so very short, because a moment of seeing, he taught about how many moments before and how many moments after, and how each one is conditioned by how many paja, just to develop firm confidence of it cannot be taken for anything at all. As before, years and years ago, the world of Atta is.
Yes. But according to what you're saying, Ajahn, for us, it's all atta. And for the enlightened being, there's no atta. But as understanding is developed before enlightenment, there must be fewer moments of atta and more moments of right understanding. So, yet the world will still be appearing. For the being who's developing that understanding, there'll still be I and you, and that's Zita's image and that's Betty's image, without having to think. Actually, there's no Zita. It's just visible object. I mean, that sort of thought isn't going to be going through the mind of the enlightened to be being.
Right. That's why there's the word Tittasava, Kamasava, Bhavasava, Avijjasava. Where are they? if it's not at moment of seeing. We do not have to say, I see, it's there, asva, all the time, today, yesterday, tomorrow. That's why Buddha, after his enlightenment, he said, all dhammas are so very, very subtle, but it can be studied, it can be known, it can be realized as he had developed great parami in order to recognize the truth. That's
So
why
if we are saying that ditasava is there all the time, which I agree with, of course, then it means it's not. It means that ditti is not apparent,
who
and
said
so it cannot be understood at those times. So
that
the more of the asava is there, the fewer moments. The fewer are the moments where wrong understanding is actually appearing. So doesn't that describe life as we know it now? That there's the concept of people and things, but not necessarily wrong view strong enough to appear to be known.
so when there's a realization of the truth, no concept, or it still there appear as
Still
something,
there.
but understanding is there. No wrong understanding arise at all after that. It has been eradicated.
Even as asava.
That's why Buddha teaches. That's why he thought about asava. Nobody knows.
Yeah. Well, I get back to what I was saying. If asava is there, then wrong view is not appearing. So we have an idea of people and things generally, but it's without wrong view appearing, because wrong view is there
Yes.
as asava.
But it's still there.
It's still there, but cannot be known at those moments.
That's why no need to try to know asava as object.
Right.
No need to try to experience asava. But what is there right now? Without asava, how can it be? I see many things.
So what is the difference between the moments where wrong view is there as asava and wrong view is present and able to be the object of awareness and understanding, or whatever? What's its characteristic when it appears?
That's why it is asava, not at the level of kilesa or akusala. Right?
Right.
Nine groups of akusala. And asava is after anusaya. So now that can be the moment of understanding how subtle reality is. That's why there is ignorance and attachment, eons and eons goes on as a circle of birth and death, non-stop. Because never thought about what is that as just a reality experienced by that which arises to experience, begin to understand what is there as it is. For example, the reality which sees, not I, but is conditioned, begin to understand the truth of anatta, not atta as before. Little by little, the first round is so very necessary, very important. Otherwise, it's wrong. One can go wrong very easily, very, very easily. Just think in one's own way. But what about the words of the enlightenment? Can anyone just think like him? Impossible. That's why even the term or the word Dhamma is not just the word or concept. It's a reality. But we have to use Satta Banjati to make it known what we're talking about, of that which is there right now. Without Sattva Panjati, how can it be known? How can it be known? No one at all. Sanya marks and remembers each word. And Chitta experiences that sound. And Cetasikas arise performing the function. So, any moment, understanding the subtlety of the great wisdom of the Buddha, it means at that moment beginning to understand. We can say the holy truth or Arya Satya and whatever, which nobody can change at all. But they are hidden all the time from life to life, years and years. That's why only the one who developed great Varami to realize the truth can enlighten what is there now as it is. That's why each word out of his enlightenment should be considered whether it's true or not. Dhamma is there, nobody can change. And the truth, Satya of Dhamma, cannot be changed. And the one who realizes the truth is the great one, Arya Bukkala, realize the Arya Satya.
Thank you, Ajahn. That's helpful.
My pleasure, great pleasure.
Does anyone else have something to
Okay, awesome.
bring up?
I was just going to mention to Hung just briefly on Neva Sanya, Nasanya. This is the fourth Arupa jhana, where the Sanya is so slight. So it means neither Sanya nor not Sanya, because it's so subtle at that moment. And the object is the third Arupa jhana. And I remember in the commentaries it says actually not just Sanya, which is so very slight that it's imperceptible, but also the Vedana and the Hasa and the other Cetasikas. So very, very, they're still arising. They have to arise of each Chitta, but they're very, so slight, so subtle. It's like they're neither there nor not there. And because of the degree of understanding at that moment. So that was just what Ajahn referred to in passing. And I think Alberto was going to speak earlier. Go ahead, Albert.
Yeah. In the beginning, we're talking about the object as the visible object as being just adult. And on this subject, I remember reading in the Visuddhimagga when it explains the Chakrayatana, Chakrupasadana. He mentions about it's extremely tiny rupa. The actual rupa on which the visible object impinges on. And so it makes sense what Ajahn says that it cannot be a table impinging on the eye, because it's the eye being like so tiny, like very, very small, and so it must take much more than one seeing for a table to being built up through the many different seeings. Yeah, it's as I said, it makes sense. The Buddha's teaching makes sense when even when saying things which are not so obvious when we listen, because we are used to the conventional explanation, conventional studies, conventional life, conventional everything is conventional in our life. and we introduced the teachings, and it's not easy to, let's say, not having both conventional and absolute thinking, because we're used to thinking in conventional terms, but not thinking in absolute terms. That's why we need to listen and to consider again and again. I think that in this particular point is quite clear. The reason why it cannot be a table being seen, even in conventional terms, when we compare the two sizes of the visible object and the eye on which the visible object impinges.
And I think
it will, yes, sorry, go ahead.
And it becomes apparent why only one visible object can impinge at a time, and only one visible object can arise in only one kalapa, because that's the nature of the reality impinging on the eye sense, just one at a time. And even before there's an impression of a shape or the impression of a color, countless moments of seeing have to arise to experience countless visible objects or light or color or whatever one wants to refer to it.
Can I just say one little sentence, and it's something I've written down in my myriad books, and it says only a Buddha can know individual kalapas. So I found that really interesting, and I've written that in answer to the post that Robert had written. So I just thought that was a really helpful little sentence. That's all I needed to add.
If I can add, I think what Alberto is referring to is that we know that there are, with, say, one sense door object, there are going to be many, many mind door processes. So that, if you want to use the word, fills out the idea of a person or thing with shape and form. The many, many sense door processes. So it's maybe one, okay, yes, absolutely, one sense of one object in a kalapa, but many, many sense door processes to fill out the idea of an object, a shape and form object, a table, a chair, whatever, a person. So I think that's the, I think if you understand it that way, I think then it makes sense.
Very amazing, like the simile given of the Dhammas meeting together, balancing on the point of a needle. So the moment when there is the coming together of the eye sense, the visible object, and seeing just for a moment, just on the point of a needle, and then again and again and again, so much mind or activity in between, as you said, Betty. Very incredible. And yes, very amazing, the Buddha's wisdom to understand how it all works. Yes. And for us, it doesn't really matter how many countless kalapas there are or how many countless rupas, because the point is that actually what can be understood is the characteristic of what is visible, what is seen right now. And that's what is important, what can be known now. And that is really amazing.
So just one other comment in that if that goes for visible object, then it also goes for sound, taste, smell, touching, you know, touching. And as for mind objects, well, that's unbelievable. But just thinking of the sense doors, how absolutely incredibly quickly it all changes, and how, as you just pointed out, Sarah, how pinpoint it is.
Right.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's believable, but it's just incredible. It's
Like
it's just
even the taste, just one taste from one kalapa experienced at a moment of tasting, experience with neutral feeling, but so many experiences of taste with so much sanya, marking, remembering, so much conditioning, so much thinking about the desirable object and what one likes and so on, conditioning, the clinging and dreaming about mango or whatever. But actually it's just one tiny dot, one taste that is experienced at a time. So it's same for all sense doors. That's why we talk so much about seeing a visible object, because if it's understood what visible object is, what seeing is, same for all the sense doors.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, thank you.
Good points, yes.
Okay.
Does anyone else have anything they would like to bring up?
If nobody else has anything, I just want to ask John if he could clarify what he meant by, look, for example, how we see things. We take it as you, Sarah, on the screen as a bottle. The enlightened one, the fully enlightened one, like an arahant, still knows what is what. So I'm wondering if what John was getting at, what he was digging for. So I didn't quite understand whether you, John, was saying that why would the arahant know these things, like know that it's Sarah, know that it's John, know that it's Achan. Is that what you were saying?
So what I was getting at is generally the question of what is the indicator, the characteristic of wrong view when it appears for us. And so sometimes it's said that if there's a thought of I, that's indicative of wrong view. But I'm saying, well, the enlightened being also thinks in terms of I and you, without wrong view, obviously. So we can't say that just I and you thoughts are indicators of wrong view. So if I think I'm tired, or if I say, I beg your pardon, that I is not, there's no indication there that wrong view is present just because the term I comes to mind in order to speak or communicate. And likewise with identifying who's on the screen. The enlightened being doesn't have to think twice about, is that a zeta or is it just a visible object, and it doesn't have to deconstruct in any way. It's just instantly thinking and seeing the world in terms of people and things, because that kind of thinking is common to everyone in samsara. Mind or processes follow sense or experiences. And as part of that, there's the conceptualizing in terms of people and things. So what is the indicator the characteristic of wrong view. And also if wrong view is there as asava, then it's not, it's there indeed, but it's not appearing. So I'm just interested in what distinguishes moments with and without wrong view in daily life. When I say with and without wrong view, I mean when wrong view is capable of being the object of awareness and understanding. So it can't be just the fact that the world is processed in terms of people and things.
Wow. Yeah, that's
So
well.
wrong view has its own characteristic, obviously,
Sure.
like all other dhammas.
Yeah.
And it can only be known by its characteristic, not by the fact that there is thinking in terms of people and things.
Right. Okay. Well, I hadn't thought of it like that. So, yeah, that's quite amazing, because then when you go to the Aryan, there's no wrong view, but still they can still distinguish me from you, kind of
Right.
thing. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Well, that's almost beyond me at the moment. But I can, it's a great point. It's great. It's a great subject. But how, I don't know. I think it's probably the first time that I've thought about it.
Perhaps John can clarify what actually happens. When does wrong view actually arise? Even because this is what I have always understood, and I remember always John saying it only arises at certain times, whereas so I would like John to clarify actually when as wrong view is a jetasika. So when does it arise in the normal everyday life of panyatis all the time?
Oh, okay.
Yes. Who knows how much anyone understands of what is now appearing? Who knows? Nobody can change the way dhammas go on by condition. Never different. Even at moment of Sariputta became enlightenment, so natural, never change anything at all. Listen on to Asati, because he became Sotapanna, half of the, we use the word kata, but 2 more with moment of having been Sotapanna already, who knows? That's right. Realities, Dhamma, cannot be changed at all. It has to go on right now as usual, anytime. But right understanding begin to understand what is what, which is not self or anything at all. For example, there is seeing even before enlightenment and after enlightenment. Nobody can stop seeing to arise at all. That's the way it is. It has to arise as long as there are conditions for its arising, on and on, until the end for Arahata Parinibbana. That's why we begin to understand it. Understanding is a reality. It's not anyone at all, but it's that which understand because of careful considering very, very carefully of the truth, whether it's true or not, firm confidence of the truth. Even right now, who knows? That's why before becoming enlightenment, because we just talk about moment of enlightenment and different levels of vipassana, no understanding of the great wisdom stage by stage when it is vipassana. And before that, there must be a moment of listening the words of the truth from the enlightenment, and without careful considering, wisely considering, How can there be the understanding? Each word of his teachings is so true anytime, even right now. Who can see the demarcation between seeing and hearing? Not at all. But right understanding, begin to understand each different one as not I see, I hear, I think, I like, as usual. Learn to understand what is meant by Dhamma, the reality. What does it mean? It is real by its nature, conditioned to be such only. Attachment is there, no matter at what time or in what life it arises. It performs a function of attachment. Its characteristic is attached to be attached, no matter what is there. Through the eyes, ears, tongue, nose, body, or mind, it's there attached. And ignorance is a condition for attachment. No understanding what is now appearing, gone instantly. See, unbelievable that it's so true, but learn to consider each word of truth and begin to understand what can be taken for life. They are all conditioned, arising and falling away. Just a moment ago, what about this morning? What about yesterday? All gone. Is that true? So this moment is exactly the same. It's gone unknowingly until hearing, listening to the truth and consider that what is ignorance? No understanding of what is there as it is. Seeing is a reality, which is that which experiences just visible object when it impinges on the eye base. It's there and then gone. Just consider little by little what is true. That's why Buddha taught about the citta and cetasikas, each different one, to be conditioned to let go. Wrong understanding, taking what is there, all of them as I. The five khandas, Rupa khanda, my legs, my arms, my hands. Vedana khanda, I feel so very sad, I all the time. Sanya marks and remember with each moment of experiencing what is there. So it can be known later as something when it appears as nimitta and so on. And the other realities, attachment, aversion, and so on, are sankhara khanda and vijnana khanda. They are all different khandas, but they are real, and each one is conditioned to arise and then falls away, because conditions just condition, it's arising, that's all, the function of condition. So as soon as it has arisen, it falls away. Nobody can stop this moment at all. It's covered up by ignorance and attachment eons and eons ago, until hearing the word of truth of each moment right now from the enlightenment. So his word is quite different from the others. It's impossible for anyone just to imagine or try to follow his word and think, I understand it. I understood already. That is not true, because there are 3 rounds that Buddha explained about what is there right now. So talking about enlightenment, one thing about only enlightenment, but what condition it without the understanding right now? Can it be conditioned to get closer and closer to what is there appearing? That's why, where is Dhamma? We are talking about Dhamma, but where is it? Not in the book, not in the word, but in truth. It's there, as Buddha taught, and in words we remember to consider it. Otherwise, without sanya, how can there be the memory of that which Buddha said about what is there right now? That's why it's so very, very subtle. The more subtle understanding, the more appreciate or respect the great wisdom of the Buddha. Otherwise, just pay respect to him. But who's him? That's why learn to be reasonable or be truthful to the truth from one word to another word. Dhamma is Dhamma. Is that right? Before we can go on talking about each Dhamma, we can talk about any Dhamma because when it's there, it is as we have learned. Attachment, see, who knows? I like it, I want it, but what is there? Nobody, only the reality which is attached, depending on degrees, what level, the level of wanting to have it instantly, suddenly, just go to get it, and so on. That's why we learn about life is so natural. Nobody can change the way it is, no matter before enlightenment or after enlightenment, or less than that. Before understanding it and after understanding it, it's exactly as it's conditioned to be in life as usual from moment to moment. That's why learning to understand Dhamma, there must be the understanding where's Dhamma to be learned. Now, Citta and Cittasikas arising and falling away, what appears to be truthful to the truth. Learn to understand what can appear to seeing mind without the, the Chakudavara, without, which means without Chaku, the reality which experiences the object cannot experience that which now appears as different colors, different things, and memory take it for something all the time, from moment of waking up to the moment of falling asleep. On and on and on. And today will be like yesterday. Experience what's there through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, lots of thinking, lots of attachment, and all kinds of akusa, and then sleep. Who am I? No idea at all. Nothing appear, but not the dead body, because citta is there. Keep on arising and falling away by karma, not to end up yet. Because karma is there still to condition seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching again. Next moment, on and on, each life exactly the same. Is that true? If there is I, where's I yesterday? Is now I yesterday? Impossible. I'm sitting here yesterday, and now I'm sitting here today. But where's the I? The same one or different ones? Different moment of seeing, different moment of hearing, different moment of memory, with no understanding of the truth. Is that true? Be truthful to the truth. And this is the beginning of parami. All kinds of kusala, conditioned by karma, understanding that when it's akusala, it cannot understand the truth for sure. Whatever's gone, like yesterday or this morning, no one thought about it, that it's gone, never to return, and it will be tomorrow the same as today, be yesterday of tomorrow. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, doubting, considering, what is that is conditioned and gone. So right understanding developed now. Nothing is changed. Seeing, hearing, smelling like the same. And when Panya understands more, it's exactly the same. But Panya begins to penetrate the truth as much as it's conditioned. And Sanya, nobody can control. It's not controllable because it marks what is there more to be object of thinking, attachment, and so on. So what about how many moments listening to the truth, how firm confidence that it's now no one, It's just a moment of seeing, another moment of different conditions, realities, and so on. That's why no different at all. Before enlightenment and after enlightenment, all goes on by condition as usual, but right understanding, understand the truth, depending on what degree. So now, the degree of hearing and considering pariyatti. So when we are talking again, discussing again about that which we have learned or talked about, it's there, see, at that level. And it developed unknowingly, so very subtle. So the path leading to realize the truth right now is so very subtle. With our understanding from hearing, listening carefully, consider carefully, how can it develop more parami, firmer, Adidana parami, Satya parami, Viriya parami. Listen again and again and again, because the world of Atta is so very, very thick, very, very firm, very, very solid. That's why it takes quite a long time to understand that it's no one who can do anything, only realities. Begin to listen carefully, truthfully, to understand. Truthfully, how much understanding? Right understanding knows. Other reality cannot know anything which is so true. Is this the answer? For before enlightenment, after enlightenment, it's just like now by conditions. People after enlightenment are different as condition. Condition 8, Sariputta, Moggallana, Kassapa. See, different ones by condition. They cannot be the same. They cannot live the same, but by condition, different conditions. But no wrong understanding. The akusala is completely, absolutely, ultimately eradicated. Never doubt about what is there now. Otherwise, that person cannot be enlightened. The truth of that very moment, or any moment by the ready conditions enough to understand what degree Sotapanna or Skita-kama, Sakitami, Anakami, Arahata, by conditions, no doubt, of Dhamma or Adhamma. Letting go by Panya now as much as is there, conditioned.
So, Achan, just what
and
just
say that, excuse me, Azita, I have my hand up. So then can we say that wrong view would only arise in a mind door rather than in the sense door?
What Dawei is now seeing of an object, we can say seeing is Jakku Dwara. See what is said, but what is now real appearing, mind or sensor, unknown. So very quick, one after the other with Owanka in between. So it's the nimitta of seeing. Is it nimitta of mind? No, it sees all the time. Where's the mind? After each process of sense. That's why mind does not show up at moment of not experiencing what object through the 5 doorways. Who knows that it's mind? Just say that it's mind because it's not seeing, hearing. That's all. But the nature of mind as a reality experiencing an object after the sensor does not appear. So right understanding develops from no understanding of what is there at all, beginning to hear, to listen to the word of truth, and be truthful that it does not appear. And even it appears, not to understanding. If there's no understanding of the first round yet. That's
So
why
Betty, oh, sorry, Ajahn.
That's why each word should be carefully studied again and again and again and again, not only once. Please, Queen Sarah.
I was just going to say, Betty, so the asavas do arise even in the sense door processes. So seeing, then 3 more citas, and then asava is there with regard to the visible object or the sound or that which is experienced so quickly.
Yeah.
So subtle.
I got that.
Taken for something instantly. Ahead, Azita.
Okay, just the difference, back to the difference between the unenlightened being and the enlightened being. So with enlightened being, there is no wrong view. That's been eradicated. However, the experience of visible object, sound, taste, it all still happens just the same as it does for an unenlightened person. It's still really fast. So therefore, that, to me, that's why they can still know it's you and me, because that hasn't changed. But the wrong view and the mana and stuff is all gone. But there's still those very rapid arising and falling away of jittas and jetta seekers. Or no, mainly, I'm thinking mainly of rupas, because of visible objects.
So there's still the marking and the remembering the different visible objects and what it's called or what it's referred to, but no misunderstanding that actually when we say Suchin that there is someone there, but still there is the marking and the remembering and of how we address the friend and so on.
Right.
Yep. Just the same as life carries on, just the same as now.
Right.
And the thinking patterns, like I'm tired, I'm hungry, etc. I guess they would still stay the same too.
Yes, indeed. Well, this has been the most amazing discussion.
Just like now when there's right understanding, so still recognized as friends and so on, but there can be understanding slipping in any time.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think it's just about time up if Ajahn would like to add any last words, and then it's time to finish.
Sorry, Ajahn, we're not hearing you.
You say what you want then.
Yeah. Hi, I'm here. Hi, just ending the.
Oh, that's okay. I have a conference call at 9:30.
Okay, perhaps we'll finish up now then. Okay, thank you very much, Ajahn, and everyone. And
Thank you so much for clarification today.
Yes, it's been great, hasn't it, Betty? Very good. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Ajahn, very much.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Ajahn, and Zohra,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
look at the schedules that I post on DSG, because no